So look, here's what I want us to talk about today. We're still in this whole Paul thing, but I've got to ask a serious question today. You ready? Why are all these Christians so mean? Oh, come on now. Some of you got a little offended. Some of you were like, hallelujah, come on. Why are they so mean, right? It's funny, a guy who's in a band that I really like, he tweeted this one time, and I was like, man, he's just trolling. Look at this guy. Just trying to, he is just bringing out all the hate right now with this. And unfortunately, it was bait because, of course, when you say this, all that's going to happen is a bunch of people are going to come along and prove your point. So why? Hey, you don't have to raise your hand, but I'll bet you've thought it. I'll bet you've wondered. I'll bet you've looked around and thought, geez, these people are mean. Why are they so mean? For a lot of us, it's one of the reasons why they're not even Christians. Justin Bieber did an interview this week. I know, I'm not a Biebs guy at all, but that guy, I could do a whole thing on that guy. He fascinates me, and he talked about that a little bit this week. You can, I don't know where you find it. I found it on Twitter. Apparently, I'm spending too much time there. But, talking about this idea, are Christians so mean? Or another way that we might say that is, why are all these Christians just not like Jesus? And then here's where it gets really uncomfortable. If all these Christians includes me, then I have to ask, why am I so mean? Why? Why am I not a little bit more like Jesus? Obadiah, you're not mean. No, look, I can teach a master class in meanness. I have people from 20 years ago that I'm still hunting down to be like, man, you might not remember, but this one time I said this thing and it was such a good insult and I'm so sorry. They're like, yeah, I remember. You hurt me so bad that day. Just kidding. I'm not actually. Okay, so why are all these Christians so mean? Well, here's what we're going to do. I actually think that I have kind of an answer for this. Maybe not the ultimate answer, but an answer that I want us to look at together from Paul. I want us to take some time and do that. But to do that, we got to go through some things first. So Mindy's been talking the last couple of weeks, and I think she talked about the Damascus Road. I was not paying attention. Did she at all? Okay, somebody said yes. One person heard Mindy in the last 2 weeks. All right. It's happening. I knew I could count on you guys. So when we talk about the Damascus Road, I just want to make sure that we all know what that is when we talk about it, okay? So let's just read it from Acts 9, what happens on the Damascus Road. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. What a nice guy. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, and you're like, what's that mean? Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And before people started calling Jesus followers Christians, which means like Christ, they would call them followers of the way because Jesus is the way. So Christians, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. Woo! All expenses paid trip to Jerusalem. Yay! Not good. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground, and he heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Who are you, Lord? Saul asked. I am Jesus. You are busted. Whom you are persecuting? He replied, now get up, go into the city, and you'll be told what you must do. The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could not see, or he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand to Damascus. For 3 days he was blind. He did not eat or drink anything. Now, there's nothing wrong with that account. We've told it again and again. It's just history. But I think in the telling, as Christians, over time, we have begun to develop some problems of some of the conclusions that we draw over this story of what happened to Paul. Let's talk about what I think is the first problem. Again! Let's do it again! What? Man, we're going to sing just the right song, okay? And we're going to have just the right words. We're going to set up just the right circumstances so that one time when God did that one thing, we're going to do it again. At that point, are we really going after God? We're going after the experience that we had that one time. Let me put it another way. If you have a relationship with God, did you have a bright shining light that knocked you off your horse and they had to take you into town? I haven't experienced that. So you might find yourself going, must not be real. Guess I don't have a relationship with Jesus. Guess this is all a bunch of hubbub. He got flashing lights and a voice. It was like dark where I was. I don't know. Not cool, God. You got to do that. If you're real, you have to do this. And I'm going to stand here until you do it. Listen, sometimes we deal with different people in different ways. If you've known God for a while, expecting him to do the exact same thing again is almost not fair. I met my wife a while ago, and I remember our first date, kind of, day, whatever. We lived on other sides of the country, so it was weird. But we got in her roommate's car because I had flown from Columbus out to Idaho. We were going on a date. She was wearing a black dress, very beautiful. Not as beautiful as she is now, but she was kind of beautiful then, obviously. And we're in the car driving from Northwest Nazarene University into Boise, Idaho, passing the potato fields. And I just suddenly started to giggle and get embarrassed and nervous because it occurred to me suddenly that I would really like to hold her hand, but I couldn't do it. Oh, what if she says no? She's so awesome. I don't even know why we're in this car together right now. At any moment, she's going to figure out she's made a huge mistake. And so I just kind of giggled and whatever, and I was finally just like, I know this is ridiculous, but I would really like to hold your hand. I asked. So bold of me, right? Don't have a lot of courage, I'll just tell you. And I still remember how she looked at me in that moment. Thankfully, she didn't laugh at me. Like she kind of giggled and just said, yeah. And I remember it. And so we held hands for the first time, and wow, it was amazing, right? It was this huge moment. I remember it, and I remember how I felt and all of that stuff. Do you think it's still like that when we hold hands? It's more like, come here, let's go. You can use your imagination on who's saying that to who. It just happens. If we had to go through that process every time we held hands, we'd never hold hands, or we'd never get anywhere. I mean, if we were still having our first moments together every day, I wouldn't even be here right now. We'd still be at home, right? Right. Over time, things change, and that's okay. Again, it's not something we have to scream every time we read what happened to Paul in Acts. Every time we go to God, it doesn't have to be, all right, God, if you don't do what you did the first time, then this isn't real. Come on. Cut yourself and God a little slack, okay? Here's the other problem I see with the road to Damascus. You ready? Magic. I love memes. I'm sorry. I had more in this message, and I had to cut them out because I was like, bro, that's too many, so I just have two. We think magic, and this is what we want. We look at Paul's story on the Damascus Road, and we're like, that was some magic right there, some Jesus magic, and I'm going to need some of that, God. Whew. Sprinkle the dust. Whatever you got, dude, I'll take it, right? Because here's what we think. We think that Jesus showed up that day and talked to Paul, and then Paul stood up triumphantly, walked into the city, and then wrote the New Testament, and then began going on all these journeys and talking about Jesus everywhere. That's what we think. And you're like, well, I know that's not true. See? It doesn't matter what you know. It matters what you process up here later. You throw these two parts of the story together, forgetting that there's a ton of life that takes place in between those two things. 13 years of life. After God has that encounter with Paul, he is blind and gets led by the hand, and he sits alone not eating for 3 days and nights. I don't want an encounter with God like that. I like to eat. See our previous conversation. Okay? I don't want to not eat after I meet God. I want to eat, bro. 13 years take place. And we think that it's all going to come down to this one magic moment where everything is going to change. I am guilty of this school of thought. Let me tell you about Aurora. Aurora is Alicia and I's dad. Started with a handhold and went from there, right? So Aurora is born. I am sitting at Mount Carmel East in what was at the time their new maternity wing, eating peanut M&Ms and watching the 2006 World Cup on TV. Whatever. It's pretty quiet. It was wild for a while, but there's an epidural, so Alicia's pretty chill, I'm pretty chill. This nurse comes in and is like, oh my gosh! And within like 3 minutes, we had a baby. There was like 14 people that ran in, and it was just like nobody was paying attention. Aurora was showing up. So it's nothing like you think it's going to be. They throw this bloody blob up on your wife's belly, and they're like, this is your baby. Oh. And it's dead quiet in the room for just a second. It's just quiet for just the littlest second. And then you hear the first cry. And then it is like, I'm telling you what, it's not like this for everybody. Again, like, don't judge your experience by my experience, but I'm telling you what, I felt like lightning went from heaven, and it also was coming down from the earth, and it like crashed into my body. It was just like, whoa. Whoa, right? And so they take this bloody blob over here and start washing it. And they're like, hey, Dad, come here, come and talk to her. And so I did. And I just come over and was like, hey, Aurora. And I kept telling her she's so welcome. I don't know, you're so dumb when your kid's born. It's like, we're so glad you're here. You're so welcome. I just wanted her to know how badly we wanted her. And we made eye contact, and she looked at me, and I was like, holy crap, she recognizes my voice. She did. I swear to you she did. And they say that, as dads, if you talk to your baby while it's in the womb, that your baby gets used to the sound of your voice. This may shock you, but I talk a lot. So when the time came, she had no problem recognizing the sound of my voice. Huge moment, right? I became a dad in that moment. We take her home from the hospital. A week goes by. I'm sitting in the living room. She takes a nap. I am not yet smart enough to know that when your baby is taking a nap, you had better take a nap, because you are never sleeping again unless they are sleeping. I wasn't that smart yet. And I remember sitting there and just being like, I would really like to play some Quake 4 right now. Quake 4 is a computer game, if you don't know. And I was just like, what is this? You want to play games? You're a dad now. You're supposed to want to fish and fix stuff and watch football, I guess. I don't know. Not play games. That's what children do. You are a child. Act like a man. And I thought about it, and I went in, and I played Quake, daggone it. And that was it. I expected that when I met Aurora, I was suddenly going to be completely and totally a different person. But I wasn't yet. And so it's funny, because am I at 14 years later almost, am I more of a dad now than I was then? No, I'm not, actually. I could have, after Aurora was born, I could have just walked right out of the hospital and never seen her again, and I would still be her dad. 23 of those chromosomes are mine, period. My status as biological father would remain unchanged. You could change paperwork, you could do whatever you wanted, but you couldn't take away from me those 23 chromosomes. That's it, okay? But was I Aurora's father more today than I was then? Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot, yeah. I'm such a different person now than I was then. But it wasn't one transformational huge moment. It was 1,000 little decisions along the way. It was 1,000 times where I had to, whether I wanted to or not, put Aurora's needs above my own. First, I wasn't into it. After a while, you just do it. Like, you even stop thinking about it. It doesn't become a choice. It just becomes who you are. Your kid needs something. You get their thing before you get your thing. That's just what you do. And most of us, if you're not a parent, I apologize, but I'll tell you, that's just kind of the way that it is, right? But it's 1,000 small decisions, and It's spending a ton of time with her as I'm making those decisions. Just spending time with her, making those choices. And all of a sudden, I'm a little bit different. Now, what the heck does that have to do with Christians being mean? You lied to me. Where's the stuff? Here's where I think it is. We're circling the issue. Why are Christians not like Jesus? So, in a minute, I want to talk to you about how. How? How do we get to a place where we're not like that? How? But first, I feel like we have to answer the why would we bother? Why become like Jesus? Why make the little decisions and all of that stuff? Why? Because it's kind of the elephant in the room, right? We know, hello elephant, he's big, and no one's talking about him. It's tough. So, why? The elephant, I think, in the room as Christians is, we get to go to heaven, so why bother living like Jesus anyway? It's probably going to be work. Probably have to give us some stuff. I don't know. Like, why? What's the point? I mean, I can remember, I don't know if people still do this. When I was a kid, I can't tell you how many times I went into a room and they were like, if you died tonight, would you go to heaven? And I was like, I don't know. What do I have to do? I want to live. I want to live. I'm 10 years old. I have so much left. I'll come up and pray. Oh, God. Right? You're just like, I just want to live. And in some ways, we turn Jesus into this thing that happens when we die. But what happens? You're like, oh, I don't want to die. And what happens? You don't die. I mean, if I had prayed one night and went to heaven the next day, relief, right? But that's not what happened. The next day I lived. And I lived the day after that, 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 and I lived the day after that. And I would like to say that from this point on, I'm going to live the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after. I want to live for a while, okay? But I didn't die. So I got this big confusing thing where I only thought Jesus was when I die. And then it turns into, if I've already got the dying part taken care of, why waste time doing life this other way? Why anything? I should just go ahead and do what I want. Then, now we're getting somewhere, all right? I can party today, and then when I die, I'm going to party again, because that's what heaven's going to be, right? It'll be party and party, and it's cool. So why? Why bother living like Jesus when you can be a Christian and still be mean? Why? You could be a Christian and be nothing like Jesus. You can be a dad and just walk out. Big deal. What's the point? Here's what we got to get a hold of, guys. Jesus knows a lot more than what happens to you after you die. Jesus knows how to live. Oh, no, that's a different thing, isn't it? We have to become convinced that Jesus knows the best way to live, that he knows the best way to do Tuesday afternoon. Like, well, Jesus does heaven. He doesn't do Tuesdays. He does Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays, Sundays and Mondays. Did I miss a day? I lost count. He does all the days, okay? We've got to believe that he's the best way to do life. Most of us don't believe that. Well, yeah, we do. No. We would say that if I asked you, but we don't live like we do. Know what I'm saying? Why are these people so mean? How come they're nothing like Jesus? I think some of it's because we don't believe he's got the best way. Let's see what Jesus has to say about it, all right? 2 things on Jesus, then we'll get back to Paul. Here we go in Matthew 11. It says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Yes. I am so napping this afternoon. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. That just means, come hang with me. Take my yoke upon you. And learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. Ooh, I love that, man. And you will find rest for your souls. I've talked here at church about how I deal with anxiety and depression. Do you know this is one of the best things that Jesus does for me? Is he has rest for my soul. I can go spend time with Jesus and know, like, all right, it's okay. Like, it's okay. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, another problem we have here is we think it's like, and then life will be easy and woo, right? It's not going to be that. We're still going to have life. And I'm going to be honest with you, some of us sometimes get the short end of the stick. Some of us have to face harder things than others, we think. Truth is, we see people that we think have it all together. We don't know what's going on over there. It might not be as rosy as you think it is, honestly. But we're going to face stuff. Jesus wants to show us how to live in such a way that the yoke is easy and the burden is light, because he's going to be there to bear it with us. He's going to show us how to do it. He's not going to make life go away. I wish he would. There are days when I just think, gosh, I just want to go sit in my basement and be left alone. But he is going to show us how to live day to day. Let's look at another thing that he talks about. This is him in Luke 14, also 28 and 30. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. It's never occurred to me, but whatever. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and you're not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. I got to be honest with you. I think the question, why are Christians so mean? Why aren't Christians more like Jesus? I think that's what this is. We ridicule people who say one thing and do another. And as a Christian, I do that sometimes, right? Yeah. Well, that's not comfortable. Wow, you want me to lie to you? No, I'm perfect. I got it. No problem. No, look. This person began to build and wasn't able to finish. They started their Jesus tower, couldn't do it. They're just like the rest of us, suckers. Right? Where's it at here? Count the cost. Sit down and estimate the cost. Here's what I want you to think about. I love this. I love talking to people about counting the cost because we are so ridiculous. We're like, all right, God, I'm going to count the cost. Here's your category. We'll get to that. Let's get to my category. My category is, all right, I'm good looking, like 80th percentile. Like I'm not the best looking, but I can do well. All right? I don't know, kind of funny, I guess. 80th percentile. All right, my car's okay. All right, whatever. We can work on that. We start laying out all the stuff we think that's so awesome about us. And we're like, God, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go up and get on stage, and then if you would come down and sing a few songs about me, woo me a little bit, God, I might be able to join your team. Maybe. See, Jesus is like, count the cost. He's counting on you to be smart enough to get it. That you're like, I'm so awesome, I'm so this, I'm so that, and you're piling up these pebbles, and he's over here with like one of those pulley things dragging a flatbed of gold. He's like, oh, you gonna count the cost? You wanna think, all right, I'll just wait over here while you think about it. I'll just be here. What? It's so stupid. It is so stupid. But we're just like, yeah, I'm gonna think about it. I'm really gonna think about it. Let me tell you what that's supposed to end up with. You're supposed to be like, do it quick before he changes his mind. He's really getting the short end. Shh. He's getting the short end of the stick, bro. I know. Shh. All right. Yes, we'll take it. I want the gold. Let's get the gold. Let's go. Shh. God's the one that's getting the short end of the stick, not you. Gosh, we are so stupid. Right? I do this. I'm like, I can remember sitting down and thinking it was so impressive that I was like, Lord, I'm going to give you, this is my single life, but I was like, Lord, I'll give you my dating life. I'm so freaking holy. And God was like, how about your heart? I want your heart. I'm like, oh, too much, God. Come on. Stages, bro. So, here's what we got to start asking ourselves. Are we Christians in name only? Are we passing up the best deal ever so that we can have a one-time experience, a one-time thing, but we really just aren't very much like Jesus. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we want to be? What do I want to be? Here at Impact City, one of the things that we love to talk about is what's your next step? Next step, next step. Justin has said that to me so many times, and I'm just like, I get it. Now, it's funny, but like, of course I noticed at first, but there's a lot, it's pretty smart. What's my next step? What's the next thing that I'm going to do? I want to talk to you about your next step. I actually think that how do I go from how do I go from not very much like Christ is something that Paul actually answers for us. Now, there's like a ton of stuff that we can look at in the Bible and be like, well, it's this, it's this, it's this. I'll just give you one. How about that? Because, I've been talking for a long time and you're ready to go. How about I just give you one? Who needs a 3-point message? Just one. Here we go. This is in Romans 12. Romans is a super interesting book, by the way. It's written to a culture that is a lot like ours. It is. If you look at ancient Rome and modern day Western society, we have a ton in common. Okay? Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Wait, Obadiah, I think you talked about this last time. That was like 4 months ago. I don't have any new material yet. Sorry. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Conform, being like everybody else, right? Conforming to the pattern of this world. Transformed by the renewing of your mind. These two words right here, it all kind of hangs on this. Are you going to continue to conform to be like everybody else? Which, you just will. Like, that's totally normal. If you hang out with people that go to the gym, eventually you're going to go to the gym. The results may be varied, but you're going to go, right? Or are you going to be transformed by the renewing of your mind? I don't know if you know this with the Bible. This part of the Bible, it's written in Greek, so it gets translated into English. This is one translation. This is the NIV. I'm going to show you another one. This is the message. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it, unlike the culture around you. Always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God is going to bring the best out of you. Develop well-formed maturity in you. Here's what happens to us, okay? We have this moment with God, which we think makes us enormously different in all this stuff, and it does. We become a dad, right? We have a moment where we change. Something is different now. But now we've got to decide, after this moment, are we going to become so well adjusted to our culture that we fit into it without even thinking? That's where the mean Christians are coming from. That's where the Christians that are nothing like Jesus are coming from. That's where Obadiah is coming from, if he's not careful. Right? Right there. Because he's just fitting in. Have you guys been on the internet? Are we mean? It's like so mean. Fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. I want us to take a second while we're in ancient Greece and all this stuff, and I want to talk about Plato. You guys know Plato? I had a philosophy minor in college. This is Plato. Plato is the student of Socrates. He is the teacher of Aristotle. He is the founder of the academy, and he is super boring to most of you. So we're going to skip Plato's to the one that everybody knows and loves. Wait, I need you to give me the other one because it's actually open. No, it's okay. Let's talk about Plato, right? Do you guys like Plato? Oh my gosh. I love Plato. Let me get it out. It's so great. Because what do you have to do with Plato? You got to smell it. Do you know how there are kids that eat Play-Doh? Can't condemn them. Because like when you're like straight up smelling Play-Doh, you could eat it. I feel like I could eat this Play-Doh right now. I'm not saying I ever did. I don't know. My mom's here. You can ask her later. But whew. I feel like when we read Romans 12, 1 and 2 there in the Message. Here's what I feel like I walk away with. I think we're Plato in a lot of ways. Now, some of you will immediately not like this idea because you're a rugged individualist. You do things your way, just like all the other rugged individualists out there. Think about it, okay? So, you got this Plato, right? And I think this Plato has... Let me put it this way. This is what I said in my notes. You can't not be formed, okay? You can't. You don't get a choice. Plato does not get to tell me what it's going to be. It doesn't, right? Listen, Plato, hello? Nope. Plato only has one thing that happens to it. It gets formed. But here's the difference between us and Plato. Maybe the metaphor breaks down, maybe it doesn't. The choice that you and I, as Christians, get to make is we get to choose who forms us. Okay? We have this one-time encounter with God, and we think that from that point forward, everything's going to be different. And it is, but it isn't. Okay? I'm a dad, but I'm not a father yet. Something has changed. But what I've done is I've taken a step on a journey. And what we have to decide to do is, are we going to take the journey? Are we going to take the steps? Do we walk out or do we take the steps? I think we should let God form us. You see, we don't get to choose to be formed, but we get to choose who forms us. And so your next step, the question that you have to ask yourself is, who am I going to let form me? Am I going to be formed by Jesus so that I'm more like him? Maybe you won't be so mean. Or am I just going to fit into the pattern of this world? Am I just going to be like the culture around me, dragged down to immaturity? Or am I going to let God bring out the best in me, well-formed maturity? Are you going to let God form you? It's your call. The last thing I'll say to you is like, well, yeah, but how do I do that? Paul says, just pay attention to God. What? It's right there. It's like, hey, do you want to be transformed by the renewing of your mind? Just pay attention to God this week. Give him some time. Set down your phone, turn off your TV, I don't know, whatever you do, just give God some time. And it says that as we spend time with him, that he will form us. Okay? I want to pray for you really quick. Some of you, listen, I need to be formed by God, all right? So, let's bow our heads, nobody looking around. I want to pray for you. Do you need God to form you this week? Have you had a one-time encounter with God, but you're like, man, I need something more than this? You know what? Put up your hand and let me pray for you right now. There's a couple of you. Let's pray, all right? God, thank you. Oh, thanks for forgiving us. Thanks for setting us free. And God, right now, I just ask that you would form us. Please. Would you form who we are to be more like you? Would you bring out your best in us? Would you help us not to fit into just our culture, but instead to be more like you? Could you help us, God? Please do that, Jesus. This week, help us to pay attention to you. God, not just the people that raise their hand, but the people that raise their hand in their heart, that even now are thinking, yeah, that's me. God, I pray that you go knocking on their door and knocking on their heart this week so that they can be changed. Now, one more thing while our heads are bowed. I don't ever want to talk anywhere without giving somebody a chance to meet Jesus for the first time. So I'm going to do that. But here's the thing I want you to know. It might be easy for you to sit in this room and think, oh, right, okay, so what I need to do is try harder and work more. That is not the gospel of Jesus. The gospel of Jesus is that he paid the price, he loves you as you are, and he loves you enough not to leave you that way. And that you can actually rest in him and let him go to work on you a little bit in a great way. So look, if you're tired of working harder and working more, man, just right now, just rest and lean into Jesus. And if you want to have a relationship with him, just say, Jesus, I want that. I want you in my life. I want you to fill me with your spirit. I want to have a relationship with you. And I don't want to be just one of those whatever. I want to have a real day-to-day thing with you. Fill me with your spirit. Show me how to live. Amen. All right, that's all I got.